These are in listen-only mode.
Hi, and welcome to Melissa Data's MAILERS+4 product demo. Today I'm going to give you a quick overview on MAILERS+4 and some of the features that we're able to do. But before we get started, let's go over a few of the features and the benefit of each feature. The first feature we're going to talk about in the demo will be address check. With address check, you'll be able to increase the accuracy of your deliverable addresses to make sure that everything is valid, and you can also separate your list between the good addresses and the bad addresses. Our address check is CAS certified as well as CERP certified, which is the Canadian equivalent of CAS. We also have our duplicate check, which will help you reduce waste by eliminating any duplicates in your database. You could do this by either address, last name and address, phone number, or any specific key field that you have, like an invoice number or something like that. And we also have our pre-sort, which will allow you to help you get the lowest postage rates with our Pave Gold certified software. We also have our GeoCoder. This will help you append the latitude and longitudes, as well as the census block and census tract to your database. By doing this, it'll help you make better decisions about your market segmentation, sales clustering, logistics, risk exposure, and task jurisdictions. Let's go ahead and get started on our demo. And here we go. I'll go ahead and open up a file. And since I haven't opened up any of the files with MAILERS+4, it won't find the MS4 file, which is a file that Mailers creates to store the information in. Go ahead and click on Open. And you can see here, this is our file. It has company, first name, last name, contact, which is equivalent of a full name, address, city, state, zip, and +4. For this demo, I'll go ahead and append a few other fields to this list. So to do that, we're going to go to Database, and then Modify. And then Insert. We're going to do Carrier Route, Delivery Point, IMB Alpha, IMB Numeric, and we'll go ahead and do the endorsement line too. And we'll also do result codes. Okay, the first field will be Carrier Route. And delivery point. Do alpha. And we'll go ahead and change the length of this field because it's going to be a lot more than 10 to 100. That way we have plenty of space. And we'll change this to numeric. And also change this one to 100. This will be the endorsement line. And the max length on an endorsement line is about 30. So we'll go ahead and change that to 30 rather than 100. And we'll go ahead and do this as result codes. So I'll just call this results. And once we're done, we'll go ahead and, actually first before I do that, I need to change this to 100 also. That way we have plenty of room in there. It can be less, but by not making it 100, you risk cutting it off if there's a lot more result codes. Let's go ahead and hit OK, and I want to make this changes permanent to my list. The only lists that you're able to modify this way are DBFs. If you are using MAILERS+4, we strongly recommend that you use a DBF. And then after we made the changes and added the fields, you can see them here. You got the carrier route, delivery point, and the 3 other fields that we added, or 4 other fields. We'll go ahead and format our fields. There's a couple different ways to format the field. If you have names that are common, like company, first name, address, city, state, the program will find it in the format. But if you have ones that aren't so common, like results, you can just manually select it. If you find you're always using the same name, though, for your field and it's not showing up in the auto INI, you can go and edit the auto INI file. There should be a video on our website on showing you exactly how to do that. Go ahead and hit OK on this. Next thing we want to do is we want to append our carrier route delivery point and get some of the information that we need for the alphanumeric barcode. So we're going to go through address check and then go to options. You can go to address check by how I did was right click and go to address check. You could also use the button here on the left, or you can just go to list and choose address check. When you run address check, there's a couple different options in here. We could skip previously coded records. If you're doing a mailing list, you don't want to do this because you always want to make sure that your data is the most accurate it can be. So sometimes addresses are no longer valid or they change to +4. So you'll want to go ahead and keep this option off if you're doing a mailing. If you're not and you just want the database to go by faster and you've already ran it through once, but you added a few more records, then I would recommend using that option. This option, use USPS preferred city name. That's, for example, it's like the city that we're located in, Rancho Santa Margarita, which is the preferred city name. But RSM is also an acceptable city name. With this option, if you had RSM listed as the preferred in your city field, it would automatically change it to the preferred city name, which is Rancho Santa Margarita. This option, combined range and address field, is if you have the street number and the rest of the address in a different field. For this list, they're together, so usually we don't see too many cases where we have this option. You need that option that much anymore. Address standardization. We usually don't recommend that because if it's a valid address, you kind of want it standard to the post office their preferences. Even if you're not doing a mailing, it's usually a good idea just to have it so it standardizes all your abbreviations and everything else. Only on coded records. This is the one that we strongly recommend that you use because if we're not able to validate the address, we really don't want to make any changes to it. And the last one is always, so no matter if that record, if we're able to validate it or not, we will always try to standardize it. We have casing, which is auto, which what it does is it looks at your database and sees how the casing is for that particular field. If it's all uppercase, it'll leave it all uppercase. If it's upper lower, then it'll keep it upper lower. There's also the option of upper lower, or we can make everything uppercase. And then we have the option of convert company field to all caps. It does exactly what it says. If the company field is upper or lower, you can just change it all to caps. This one is do not case the name fields. This will just make it so we ignore the name field altogether and just leave it exactly how it is. These options, clear existing +4s and clear existing carrier routes. On address errors, we strongly recommend that you have those checked off. You don't want bad information in there, so if it's not a valid address, you really don't want to have a bad carrier route or a bad +4 in there because it could screw up your qualification for automation mailing. Delete unresolved DBase records. What this does, it'll put a mark on it'll mark the records for deletion. With DBFs, there's a two-step process to deleting records. The first one is marking them for deletion, and the other is to pack the records out of the database. For this demo, I'll go ahead and just leave this unchecked. This will make it so once it's done, it'll automatically print the CAS form, and this will make it so you can save these settings as a default. And right here it shows you how many days the database when it'll expire for the United States, and I've also installed our Canada Canadian database on here also, which is available to you for free. Just contact your sales rep. And we'll go ahead and hit go on this. The reason it's giving us this message is because my zip field is only 5 digits, and it doesn't know if there's Canadian addresses in here, which are 6 digits. So I'm going to go ahead and tell it to continue. And it shouldn't take us too long through here. As what it's doing right now, as it's validating it, it's also using our database that we get from the post office to try to determine if the address is a street, a high-rise, firm, PO box, rural route, or just general delivery addresses. Looks like most of this database is streets. We also just now recently started offering for free for MAILERS+4 customers is our residential business delivery indicator, which will mark the records as residentials or businesses. This will definitely help you if you're shipping packages and stuff, because some carriers do charge more for delivering to residential addresses. Right here is the results of our address check. We can print up a report of what all the errors look like. We can try to resolve the addresses. If we want to actually print our CAS form, we can go right here and go to the CAS form. The split list, this will allow you to separate the coded records from the errors. The SERP report, that's if we're doing any Canadian records. And we'll go ahead and close this. The next feature I'll cover is our duplicate check. Well, there shouldn't be too many duplicates in this list, but we'll see if there is any. You can do the address, the name and address, last name and address, and phone number, and name and phone number. We'll go ahead and just do address only and see if we can find any. What this is right here is keep record lowest or highest. So it'll tell you if this is the, when it's doing the marking for deletion, it'll keep the record that's the lowest record number, or if you choose highest, the highest record number. We'll go ahead and leave it on lowest. The suite number, you could have it so it ignores the suite. So if it's 123 Main Street, apartment 10, and 123 Main Street, apartment 6, they would both be considered duplicates. You could have it ignore it. You could have it match it to blank. So apartment 10, 123 Main Street, apartment 10, and 123 Main Street would be considered duplicates. You could also have it match exact, which will mean only apartment 10 and apartment 10 would be considered matches. You could also do that with the names too, matching them to blank and also matching them to complete. And this option right here will let you mark duplicates for deletion. And then this option here will take the record that's most complete. And we'll go ahead and hit go. It looks like this one does have some duplicates in it. There's about 87 duplicates. We'll go ahead and do a quick view. As you can see that it marked, here's all the different duplicates that are in here. You could actually print up a report right here, and that'll allow you to print up a list of all your duplicate records. And what we have here is there's a total of 87 duplicates, but there's 70 groups of duplicates, meaning that some addresses are in there multiple times, like 3 or 4 times. I'll go ahead and hit OK on this. The next feature we'll talk about is our pre-sort. With our pre-sort, I think I went a little too quick for the machine. Well, let me go back to it. Go pre-sort and then options. And we click on next. And we enter in our post office and mailing, the state, zip code, +4, and we want to save that as our default if that is our post office. Since I already saved that as my default, I don't need to do it again, so once is fine. With our pre-sort, you're able to do first class, periodicals, and standard with mail type pieces of letters / cards and flats. And for first class, you're also able to do postcards. For this demo, I'll go ahead and do standard letters. And we're also able to do profit or non-profit. And for periodicals, you can choose science of agriculture and classroom also. What this option is right here is if your post office is a SCF or NDC. So if it is one of those, you would want to have this checked off because it doesn't actually need the minimum of 200 pieces to qualify for the SCF or NDC if your post office is one of those. Here's where you enter in your sample size and weight. So usually we recommend that you get about 10 pieces. You could also get more than that to measure the thickness because measuring one envelope is kind of hard to do. And then also you could weigh them also and get how many ounces they are or how many pounds if you're mailing flats. Here's the piece dimensions. By default for letter, we keep in 4.5 by 9. And then we'll go ahead and click on, we also have the non-machinable option right here if we're doing non-machinables. And we'll go ahead and click on next. What this is this is where all the information that goes onto the postage reports and also in your mail.dat files. I'll go ahead and enter in a grid. Phone number. And the email address. And put in our permit number. And since we're the only one, we're doing the mailing for ourselves in this scenario, we would only fill out this field right here, permit holder. If you're doing a mailing for someone else, then you would put in their information under mail owner and then your information under permit holder. If you're doing the mailing also for another person, but you're using their permit, you would put in your information under mailing agent and then their information under permit holder. It's very important for the mail.dat files that this information is correct. You don't need this one unless you have a second permit for the mail owner. And then we also have the move update method that you used on the list since it is required. We'll go ahead and choose NCOA for this one. And then we also have the payment methods, whether meter, imprint, or stamp. We'll go ahead and choose imprint at this time. And suggested mailings, what this is it tells you which is the rate it's going to try to qualify. So it'll try to qualify for enhanced carrier out walk sequence, high density, and lot letters, which is the basic. And then we have automation, non-automation, and residual. Before we do that, we'll go ahead and look at our mail.dat options, make sure everything is set in there. So we'll go ahead and turn that on. And we have our contact information, doc sender ID, our phone number, email, our facility name, and the path to the mail.dat files. And we'll go ahead and let mailers keep track of the sequencing. Or if we wanted, we could choose a number to start at. Or if you actually have a field in your database that has a serial number, you can use that too. And we'll go ahead and keep the tracing option as off, which is without tracing. And we'll go ahead and hit OK on this. You could also add, if you're drop shipping it to an SCF or at an NDC, or even if you're doing standard flats and you need to take it to a DDU, you could add those destinations here. For this demo, I won't go ahead and add any of the destinations. But as you can see, what it does is it automatically highlights the one that's represented by your post office and mailing. So since we're 92688, it recognizes as Santa Ana as our local SCF. But if I had the mailing for San Diego and I wanted to drop ship them to San Diego, I could always add that one too. I'll go ahead and hit OK on this. And customize, you really don't need to mess with anything in here, just some extra options, changing the maximum and minimums of the trays. We really don't recommend that you do that. How we come up with these numbers is based on the thickness of the piece and the weight if you're doing flats. So usually you don't want to change any of those options. We also have the option if you want to disable 5-digit scheme sort or 5-digit sort for letters, which we don't recommend. And for enhanced carrier route, if you only want to do carrier route direct ones, then you could just uncheck these ones. And then if you're doing a saturation mailing, you could use simplified addresses, and they use a CDS, which ignores the delivery statistics file, which uses to determine whether there's the 90% of the total residential deliveries are the 75% of the 75% of total residential, or wait, 90% of residential and 75% overall. And go ahead and finish this, and then we'll go ahead and hit go on this. And what this is doing as it's pre-sorting it's going to be creating all our mail.dat files, the postage report, the qualification report, and your tray tags. It usually doesn't take too long. This list is 20,000 records. And usually it will probably take a couple minutes, if that. And right now what it's doing is it's creating the mail.dat files. Once it's done with all the sorting, once it's at 100%. There it goes. Just took it a little bit. Right here, if you need to, if you can't remember where you set the path, you could always just click in here and highlight it. And that way and then paste it into the Windows Explorer to go to that directory. I'm going to hit OK on this. And this is the results. Okay, it doesn't look like we have anything qualifying for enhanced carrier route. Just automation, non-automation, and 7 residual pieces. Go ahead and click on next on this. And this would be where you would print up your qualification report, your postage statement, and your tray and sack tags. And once you're done, when you click on finish, well, if you're constantly doing the same mailing, it's usually a good idea to save this as a template. That way you can go back and easily just click on the template rather than having to enter in all the information again. And we'll go ahead and call this demo and hit OK. Okay, now if we go back to pre-sort, we'll see demo in here, and rather than having to enter in all your default settings, we could just go right to the go screen. Go ahead and cancel out of here. One of the other tools that we have in Mailers is our GeoCoder. Let me go ahead and, I forgot that when I was adding the fields to add the latitude and longitude and census, track, and block. Let me go ahead and add those 4 fields real quick. Longitude, track, and block. this 116 also, so there's plenty of room. And of course, I'll make my changes per minute. So we go to the GeoCoder. We can add decimal places for the latitude and longitude field. We can make it so it's a negative latitude or negative longitude. Or you can, and you also have the option to skip records that it's already run through before, and also delete ones that we're not able to code. We'll go ahead and hit on go on this. And then rather than spend the entire time waiting for it to go through, even though it's going pretty quick, I'll go ahead and hit cancel on this, and I can show you the results. Oops. That actually is pretty funny. Is I accidentally, you saw that I added those fields, but I forgot one of the most important steps is to format the fields. Without formatting the fields, it's not able to append the data. So I'll go ahead and do that again real quick. Well, that's one of the key things if you're adding any fields to your database is you have to remember to format them afterwards. So I'll go ahead and run this again. Okay, that's good enough too. So now we have our latitudes, longitudes, census tract, and our block numbers. What this is the latitude and longitude of up to the +4 level. What you can do is you could add in the result codes also for the GeoCoder, and that'll let you know if it's rather to the 5-digit plus the first 2 digits of the +4, or just to the 5-digit, or if it's the 5-digit to the full +4. And we also have a few other little tools in here that I like is our records in a radius tool. It'll tell you if we put in a central point, it'll tell us how many records are within that radius. It looks like the only one record within a 12-mile radius. But say I want to mail 1,000 pieces. What I do is I can type in the number of records as 1,000, and this will tell me how many, give me an approximation of how many miles it is, the radius. Or say I only want to mail out a radius of 500 miles. It tells me how many records that are in there, and I can save those results to another file. We also have a tally, which will let you tally the database by zip code, county, SCF, carrier route, state, or NDC. We also offer, one of the other services we offer in Mailers is our Smart Mover real-time service. You're able to upload the file through MAILERS+4 in our listware program to make a change to submit it for NCOA subscription. Does anybody have any questions or anything? Looks like we have a couple questions. The first question we got is, do you have any other, besides MAILERS+4, is there any other softwares that you guys offer that does pre-sorting? We have a couple options actually available. One is our pre-sort object, which is a programmer's tool, which lets you create your own interface, and lets you, by doing that, you can set all the settings in there, makes it so you can run your own pre-sort and create your own program using our pre-sort object. We also are going to be introducing soon is our MAILERS+4 Online, which is our new pre-sort engine that is cloud-based, which you'll be able to just upload your file to our servers, and it'll run it through pre-sort, and you'll be able to get all the stuff you need to do a mailing back to you. Okay, there's also one of the questions was that they didn't get to hear a lot of it. This will also be available online, so you could go back and watch it and get in case you miss any part of this. One of the other options are one of the other questions that we got was when what services do you guys offer for NCOA and stuff? If you guys have besides the listware, we also do that online. Also, is we offer that through a web service that we have, and we also do a processing department DES that you're able to send them your file and they'll run it through NCOA, or they also do like phone append and email append and other services like that that you might need for your list. Looks like one of the questions was about the resolve addresses. I'll go ahead and show you that right now. And let's see, let's go ahead and open up MAILERS+4. And we'll go ahead and open the list that we just ran. Since we made changes to the database structure by adding those extra fields for GeoCoder, we will need to run it through address check again. So, while we're waiting for that, I'll go ahead and answer another question that I saw come up was that how do I do a saturation mailing or a high density mailing? In order to do that, you would actually need to purchase a list or have a database that meets the mailing criteria and have the walk sequence number appended. We do have a list department with Melissa Data that is able to sell occupant list, which is pretty much a list that has every address in the city, state, or zip, wherever destination that you want to use. Okay, then while this is done, I'll go ahead and click on resolve addresses. For resolve addresses, you're not going to be able to do any range addresses or suite ones, because with the DPV data, the post office doesn't allow us to go through and then search it. Mostly what you want to use this for is if when there's incorrect street information, like the street is misspelled so bad that that it can't find it, like say Elena had a bunch of extra characters in there or something like that. Then you just click on resolve, and then you could search in range, or you could search out of range. It'll bring up all of those ones. We'll go ahead and search in range. And then I'll double click on that, and then it appends the +4, and it removes it from the list because it's no longer invalid. But usually what I recommend is that you do check off this option to ignore range and suite errors. Like this one right here is unknown street, so we'll go ahead and try to resolve that one. And we'll go ahead and search in range. And we can search out of range. So I don't think it's either one of those, to be honest. I think this is actually supposed to be 6900 Northwest Georgia. So we'll go ahead and try changing it up here and then do a street search. Well, let's try. Oh, yep, there it goes. So then we'll look for the number down here. Well, it doesn't look like it goes up to 6900, so this is probably actually an invalid address. But say it was one of these ones right here, all you'd have to do is double click on it. What this is the range, odd or even, or it could actually be a B for both. That's the direction, pre-direction, and this is the street name, the zip +4, and the suite information. We'll go ahead and replace this address with this one. And go ahead and click on replace. And And like ones like this with an M, these are really hard to fix. It's what it is go ahead and go in there. So multiple matches, meaning that it can't determine which record it is in the database. There's multiples with the same, that meet the same criteria. So as you can see, like both, it can't determine whether it's supposed to be 109 north or 109 south. So it puts it as a multiple match. But if I know it's north, I can just go like that and change it up here and click on replace. And then there's another one right here that's a multiple match. See, I don't even think that this is, what it's doing is it looks for the first name in here and then it's not really looking at the suffix. I don't think this one is actually that address. Yeah, I guess it could be that one, but I don't think it is. We'll go ahead and cancel that in here so we don't change that one. We also have, let's see, this is a T, which is component error. Let's go ahead and search. Oh, can't find it in there. I'll try searching out of range. 200. Yeah, this one, it doesn't look like it's a valid address. The 200 isn't even in that range on 19th Street. Looks like that's pretty much. Is there any more questions on the resolve address before I close out of here? Okay, that pretty much concludes our demo for today. If you missed any part of it, it is available on our website. We'll go ahead and send you a link to the video. Thank you for your time and have a great day.